This were in effect before what happened to Tristan happened, how do you think this would have impacted the family?
It would have taken some of the anxiety of those requests away from them.
Bailey family attorney Matt Henson says there were multiple requests to see photos of the crime scene. Bailey's family feared the crime scene photos would land in irresponsible outlets' hands.
Those folks don't have the same standards, and they have an equal right to request these photos. Well, not anymore. They don't. In the state of Florida, you're not going to come in Florida and you're not going to get photos of a crime scene of a child who's been murdered.
Because of these types of instruments, colleagues, those websites that are horrid because of our public records gets those pictures, the photographs, the descriptions, the videos, and they place them online.
Legislators made that clear in the bill, saying they're concerned these photos and autopsy reports getting out is harmful to the public and may induce violent acts by persons who have a mental illness or are morally corrupt.
The clerk will lock the machine and announce the vote.
116 yeas, 0 nays. Madam Speaker.
And just last week, Governor DeSantis signed the bill into law.
The Apparent platform works like a digital monitoring service, letting parents or guardians more tightly control how data devices are used. It lets parents set automatic timers for when the device can be used, lets them block certain websites or pages beyond what the district filters out, and lets parents screen record and play back all of the activity that their child is engaging in.
So this just gives you one more tool to be able to monitor what your student is doing on that laptop.
Jim Colbert is the district's chief information officer and introduced the app to the school board in a Tuesday workshop.
The application will allow you to basically stream everything that the student is doing on that laptop, and then allows you to just quickly go through it to make sure that your student is staying on task.
The Brunswick Police Department started off 2023 down 33 officers. 5 months later, that number hasn't changed. The department is authorized for 72 officers on duty, but right now, there's only 39.
I believe it's going to strengthen our relationship. We have a very good relationship with the community. We're a community-oriented police department.
Assistant Chief of Administration Angela Smith says there's not enough qualified candidates interested in joining the BPD.
You have a lot of people to apply, but not everyone is a good fit for every department and every community. And sometimes people have things in their background that just don't allow them to be a law enforcement officer.
That's why, for the first time in almost 3 years, the department is actively recruiting for its Citizen Observer program. Eligible citizens will patrol the neighborhood, monitor traffic, and keep lookout for suspicious activity in marked cars. Eric Jimenez joined the Citizen Observer program 8 years ago and actively serves the community.
We pretty much cover the city because that's what the patrol.
Pretty much every move Ron DeSantis makes shows he's planning a run for president, from meetings with high-dollar donors to a recent international trip meeting with world leaders. One thing that's possibly the most telling, says News4Jack's political analyst Rick Mullaney, is that he's raised more money than Donald Trump. And being that he's not running for governor again, what else would the money be used for?
Governor DeSantis was a prolific fundraiser when he ran for governor, set a record in the history of the United States. He's turning out to be a prolific fundraiser running for president. He right now has more money raised than Donald Trump.
I talked to voters, and you can see some think DeSantis may be a good option for the White House.
He bet better than what we have now.
He think he'd be better than what you have now?
Yeah.
Like John Battle, who seems to prefer DeSantis over the current or former occupant of the White House.
Hopefully he win over Donald Trump.
To others like Ann Madsen, who doesn't think he's the right person.
I don't know. I just don't know.
Why do you say?
Because I'm for Trump.
Mario Peterson is exhausted, still emotionally devastated by the events of more than 5 years ago, and now he's telling me his health is starting to fail.
And I want to be able to live to see it. I want to be able to have my day to walk into court and say, hey, these people killed my granddaughter and my great-granddaughter.
This is a concern because Peterson has been the family's public face as they push for justice in the tragic killing of a family shortly before Christmas 2017, when Kashawn Trotter, his fiancée Arian Johnson, and their infant daughter Ariel were found dead and burned in this Arlington home.
We've talked a lot over the years. Still nothing. That's got to be frustrating.
Oh, it's very frustrating. The mental anguish I go through, how the family is just really hurting right now.
For years now, this family has lived with almost no answers from police. Peterson is Arian Johnson's grandfather. He's been the most outspoken and says despite the many years, they still have few answers as to who's responsible. The family's hope is someone knows something, and despite fears of retaliation or the street code of not talking to police, that someone will finally have a change of heart and he survives long enough to see justice in this tragedy.
No more liquor store. No more liquor store.
Chanting from people who live in this Gawfair community. Adonna Bailey was stunned when she heard that another liquor store would be coming here.
The liquor store, and I said, oh no, because the area is deteriorating already. They could have put anything else in the field back there that's been vacant for years. There could have been apartments to help improve the neighborhood. They're letting it go down even more.
Leah Bell says she and others are outraged that the city approved a liquor store across the street from a school. This document shows the Planning and Development Department denied the request for this building to be a retail liquor store on July 23, 2020. This map shows before the liquor store was approved, it was known that a school would be built across the street. Bell says this is unacceptable and wants to know why the Planning Commission moved forward.
A liquor store should not be by elementary school in light of the fact every store on Gawfair sells alcohol.
These residents say they will go to City Hall to try and get it stopped because another liquor store, they say, would only harm the community.
This is the 78-page appeal filed by lawyers for Donald Smith. If you don't remember his story, he's the Jacksonville man who abducted 8-year-old Cherish Periwinkle in 2013 by luring her into this van at a Northside Walmart. Her body was found in a creek the next morning. It took 5 years for the case to go to trial, which ended with a unanimous death sentence. And now we're seeing his appeal, which cites multiple things in his trial that he argues invalidates his original conviction. The appeal also hits a mental health expert who testified that Donald Smith was the most dangerous pedophile she had ever met. I sat down with Belkis Plata, a local defense lawyer not affiliated with this case, who says this is no surprise that Smith is filing an appeal like this.
Is that typical of appeals?
It is. It's very typical for them to try to attack, the lawyer's strategy. But what's interesting in this case is that the judge actually asked him if he was in agreement with what they were doing throughout the process, and he agreed.
Plata says Smith had likely been planning to file this type of motion before he was ever convicted. And if he's able to string the appeal process out long enough, he could feasibly die in prison before he's ever put to death.